Happy New Year! Happy New Year, guys! And welcome to Mentorship Mondays. Yeah, first one for 2023, right? So I'm gonna wait a couple of minutes, maybe one or two. Avetanda, you take the cup. I didn't think you'd be the first one for 2023. You've been so consistent in 2022. Welcome. I see Anele is already here, so let me. Buhle Bemvelo, what a beautiful name, Buhle Bemvelo. Hello to you, Miranda, Chantal, Masejo. Mapaseka says, Sila. We are definitely here.
I'm good.
Hi, Anele, how are you?
Hello, Avetandwa.
Avetanda must become a special guest, guys. I mean, this is amazing. So I just want to say a couple of hellos. Anele is on time, just as the way I expected. But I just want to say a couple of hellos to all of you guys. Last year, you know, so I just feel like I need to say hello. So Chantal and Claudie, hello. Mapaseka, Sila, Nawe, Kensi, PZ. I don't know, people with initials, I don't know, but okay, we'll work with it. My screen's gone a little bit dark. I don't know if it's just me.
No, we see it perfectly.
See me perfectly. Okay, perfect. Who's this? She goes, K says, hey sisters. Hello sisters. Isabel, hello. Dimpo, Chanda, the person with the most beautiful name, Sihle Isipo, hello. Unolucha, guys, as you can see, I'm shopping for names. So I'm just picking up on names that I love. Nontobego, Nelfi24, hi, welcome back. Happy New Year. And Nomsa and Dudu and Olile and Tsepo, yo, and everyone. Hello, guys, and Happy New Year. So firstly, apologies. This is me trying new things. I just did lashes and I'm crying because my eyes are running. So guys, I'm not being my emotional self that you were seeing at the end of last year. This is just lashes showing me flames. But I'm fine. I do want to say I'm so excited about today. I really hope, Kuti, we can have this conversation with Anele within an hour because I just don't see how. Like, there's just so much to talk about. But let me first just introduce Anele. I want to bring this down a little bit. I feel like I'm looking
Maybe it's
up.
the lashes.
There we go. All right. So, maybe it's the lashes. You know, when you do things you're not used to. So I want to first start off by introducing Anele. Ntabileng says, hi Bo, Sanbonan, hi Bo to you too, Ntabileng. So I first met Anele in high school. She was a grade behind me, but this one just thought, Ubuti, she was my friend. She thought we were the same age. And she just was just like this little sister who decided to adopt me as her big sister, Ubuti Wena. You're going to be my big sister, whether you like it or not. And I've always loved that spirit about Anele. Very, just so focused, so visionary, an absolute go-getter, a doer, a thinker. And I've loved seeing her journey. And in particular, one of the things of the many things that she does, one of those things that I was hoping we can share and tap into today is that a couple of years ago, Anele invited me to her annual vision boarding picnic. And let me just first confess that I just rolled my eyes the first time I saw the invitation because I was like, oh, there we go now. So you all cut out pictures from magazine and just do posters that are going to mean nothing. And that's because I probably had a very jaded image of what vision boarding was about. And I probably didn't have the thinking that Anele brought for me behind it and the process. Of this, I am not a Bitcoin investor. So let's just get that. Guys,
No.
Bitcoin, Forex, any investment, I don't have money self. So I'm not about to give you money or give you tips for money. So answer is no, but thank you for asking. So I just was really taken by the picnic, because when I went, I really just went for Anele, because I was like, okay, I'm just going to go support Anele, but I'm not sure about this thing. And when I got there, it was such a refreshing experience. And really, it gave me the tools to really think carefully about how I was going to hold myself accountable for my own dreams and the things that I was setting out for the year. And it just made me think that, sure, this should be a ritual every year, in the same way that a lot of us would start the year with fasting. This is a ritual that I think we should all be thinking about, to say, okay, have I done the conversation with myself? Have I had the conversation with myself before I start jumping into conversations with other people? So it's a very long introduction. Suffice to say, welcome, Anele, and thank you so much for being here with us.
I am so excited to be here. First time on the Mentorship Mondays. So Jay, and you know, like I said, if you say, come jump here, you know, I will be like, how high? Which building?
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And I just want to say to you, all of you guys, one of the principles about Mentorship Monday, of course, is that nobody has all the answers. And I definitely don't always have all the answers. So if any of you know that you're sitting there with a special skill, that you feel like, yo, Nosy, we should be sharing this with everybody else, please DM me. So for example, we had a beautiful conversation with Ule Rato Procurement last year, where she's like, you know what, I actually want to chat to everyone about, you know, how do you actually win in the procurement process? So there might be a lot of other hidden skills that you might have. So do let us know. I want to welcome my sister, Nomden, who's just joined us. Hello to you and Happy New Year, my love. So, Anele, let's get into it. Before we start talking tips and techniques, you have now made the vision boarding picnic an institution. This is something that you do every year. You attract so many people who come and attend and get insight from you in terms of answering the question, how do I actually set a vision, and how do I go about, you know, setting my goals, and how do you use this tool that is the vision board to help me do that? Where did it start? What was the genesis for you, and the origin of, why did you even think that this was something that needed to be done?
That's a very good question. It started for me 2015, I would say. I was part of Dream Girls South Africa Academy mentorship program. And part of us being mentors and going to mentor these grade 10, 11, and 12 girls was doing our own vision boards, because we'll then do vision boards with them. And I had heard about vision boards and all that, but I hadn't actually done my own vision board. You know, I would write down, this is what I want to do, and have a list of my goals for the year, you know, resolutions and all that. And Rebecca was facilitating that session. And I was also like you, I was like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. And we did it as a group. And then the following weekend, we did it with the girls. And you should see how these grade 9, grade 10, like high school girls had these big dreams, and we get to be in the process of helping them and writing down and cutting and pasting, you know. And since then, I was like, this is what I've always done. And then in 2017, 2 years after that, you know me, I don't just have an event for the sake of having an event. And I was like, January is my birthday. How can I add value to the people who add value in my life? And then I decided, let me do a vision board picnic where people still celebrate my birthday, but they walk away having gained something. And it's January, so it's when people are making resolutions, writing those goals down, it's the perfect time for people to actually think of their year or the 2 years ahead, whatever plans that they have. And that's how it started off. It started off just as a birthday celebration with family, with friends, and that's how you got into, you know, because you're part of that circle of mine. But I think last year it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And with my organization, the T with Anele and Ndlovu, I was like, I don't want other people to miss out who might not be in my close circle, you know, as in friends, family, or colleagues. I want to kind of include everyone. And because I know how impactful and powerful vision boarding is. And I don't know if you remember the year it was 2020, the last one I had for my birthday, where I asked everybody, what is it that you had envisioned the year before that came to light? You know, and you each had to bring a picture, and we put it all over the walls, and people had to guess whose vision had come true and all that. And so for me, I wanted to share that with more people, not just my family or friends. I was like, there are a lot of people who probably have lots of goals and dreams, but they just don't know how to kind of articulate them and how to make them come alive.
Mm. So I love that. So you've touched on a number of things. So by the way, I see the principal of Girls High is on, which is both our former school. So Mr. Grafi, nice to see you on. But you've touched on something that is quite important for me, and that is the art of reflection and the discipline of reflection. Because I'm pretty sure not everybody wants to go through a process of envisioning every year, but really not having a sense of reflecting on missed promises, missed goals, but also the things that we've achieved, right? Because I think it's equally important to go, okay, this is what I did manage to achieve, but equally let me have an honest conversation with myself about what did I miss? And what role did I play in missing that? Or what role did my environment play in missing that? So maybe just talk to us a little bit about why is it important just to have an honest conversation about the vision board of last year before you start the vision board of this year?
You know, reflection is so important, because you may think I haven't done anything, or there's so much for me to do. But when you sit down and you look at that vision board, there's a girl that we also went to school with. She's a grade behind me, and she was telling me that she had put 3 or 4 years ago that she wanted to go to Zanzibar for her 35th birthday. And last year she actually went to Zanzibar, but that was something she had put on a vision board 3 or 4 years ago. So it's just that it's to remind yourself of what is it that you're working towards. And if you don't reflect, and if you don't take the time to think about that, then you'll always kind of, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know what I'm going, and I'm just gonna kind of float through life. So sitting, you know, and now we're having the picnic on Saturday, and whether you've done a vision board with me or you've done it in other places, this week, I'd like people to actually just sit down, look at what they had last year, or even if you've written maybe your goals down and it's not on a vision board, and say like, okay, tick, 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 this happened, this was done, I did this well, I did this way. For those things that you weren't able to achieve, what could have been the hurdle? What is it that you can do better this year or going forward? Because your vision also needs action, and maybe you didn't have the right connections, you didn't have the right networks, you didn't have the right resources, whatever it is. This is the time for you, before you kickstart another vision board, to say, this was on the board, but maybe now I need to put more detail under a specific thing.
So I'm hearing two things. One, every vision needs action, which I think is so powerful, right? So I think we sometimes make the mistake of dreaming, and then we don't take the next step of the how-to, right? So let's just take the example of your friend saying that she wants to celebrate her birthday in Zanzibar. I'm pretty sure for that to have come true, she would have had to go a couple of steps lower and to say, okay, in order for that to come true, what needs to be true in terms of the things that I do this year and the next year and the next year leading up to my 35th birthday? And I think that's super, super important. So dreams without action remain dreams, right? You know, a vision without action just remains a vision. It's a pretty picture in your head. It's a pretty poster that you've put up on a board somewhere, but it's actually not translating into something tangible that you can say, you know, I got this or I didn't get this. Tamaris, I hope I'm saying it right, I'm so sorry if I'm not, says she says how I need to be granular, right? So it is about that granularity. And Premium Hair is saying, great point, there's a lot we can achieve, but could be clouded by the unmet objective. The second thing you said, Anele, which I think is so important, is that, so one, it's the action, but also I think as you think about what's coming up in the next, is the accountability in terms of what did I miss? Because I think that we could very quickly run into the trap of saying, oh, COVID happened. Yes, COVID happened. But even within that context, what could you still have done? You might not have gotten to the goal that you set, but did you move forward? Did you make progress? Did you put one step in front of the other? Because it might not be about finishing and getting over the finish line, but did you make progress in the right direction? So let me ask my next question, which is, okay, so talk us through the process. A lot of us are probably thinking, oh, Anele is saying we must just go find magazines now and go cut out pictures and then go stick up pictures. Talk to us about the thinking that goes on behind that.
I like the point that you said before I answered the question about you just have this pretty poster. Yes, it's supposed to be a pretty poster so that it can motivate you to work towards what is on the poster. But you then need to work, you know. You need to work towards and have the action to make the pretty poster come true. So that the next time it's not just Zanzibar, then maybe it's the Maldives, or I don't know, it's Bora Bora. And you can tick that and say, okay, I've done this. What is the next level, you know? So the techniques or the way to do vision boarding is, for me, what I've been doing and what a lot of people around me have also been doing is write down what it is that you would like to achieve before you paste it and cut out, you know, because you'll find that I remember when I started doing vision boards, I was also just cutting. And then I have all these pictures. And when I'm trying to think, how do they fit into my life? How do they fit into the things that I want to do? A lot of things didn't make it to the board. So now I sit with myself. I think of what is it that I want for 2023 or even the next 2 or 3 years. Write those things down. And then now that I've written them down, maybe I can group them. You know, maybe these are financial goals and they can all come together as financial goals. Maybe these are spiritual goals, physical health goals, mental wellness goals, travel, career, you know. And then in that, what is it that I can achieve in the next few months or few years? Let me put that so that I can then focus on this is achievable in the next 12 months. And then after, when I do a reflection and introspection of, how far did I get in these 12 months? Then the next year we can add on to that. So it's just sitting with yourself. And a lot of people are afraid to sit with themselves. You know, like you were saying, that the reflection part is so important because you also evolve and you also change and your goals may evolve with you as you change, you know. So do I still want to do this? Do I not want to do this? And then have that list down and then you can start. So I had a friend who said she wants to come to the picnic, but she doesn't have magazines. And I was like, that's fine. Maybe just print out the pictures, Google Photos, print them out, and then you can cut those out. But then you already know what it is that you want. For an example, for me, a lot of the things that I want have to do with like spiritual principles and values. So it's peace, it's forgiveness, it's respect, it's commitment, it's excellence. I don't know what pictures I could find with that, but those are words that I'm actually going to print out. And I've written a list of all these words, you know, and love and, you know, all these things. And I'm going to print them and then I'm going to cut them out. And then I know that those are the spiritual wellness side of things. And in terms of career, I was, you know, I thought I had a corporate career and things were, but that's also pivoted. God's like, no, I need you to be in a certain space. So now I'm not really, I don't know if I should call it a career, but it's still, I get to use my professional background of marketing, communications, eventing, just in a different space now. So it's also that now that when I do my vision board this year, it's not going to be, I want to work in a JC listed company. I want to use the skills that I have, but it's now going to be focused on the tea with Anele and Ndlovu. You know, so things have evolved. And because I've sat with myself and I've reflected, I know that is what is going to go on my board. And then once you've done that and you've got all your pictures, you've got all your words, then it's the fun part where you then are now pasting them. And I always tell people when you come to the picnic, go wild, bring glitter, bring this, bring stars, bring whatever it is, because the board has to excite you. When you look at it, it has to make you think, wow, my goals are enormous, but they are wonderful. And they make me want to jump out of bed, whatever it is, you know. And then it's what Rebecca also touches on when we facilitate is now you've got this beautiful poster, you've put it on your wall or on the back of your door. What are you going to do to achieve those goals? And with the example of Zanzibar, you're not just going to wake up and say, I'm going to Zanzibar. Do you have a passport? You know, have you checked out how much the flights are? Have you checked out accommodation? Have you checked out when you land in Dar es Salaam, do you have to take a ferry, or do you have to take another flight, or do you have to drive to the island? All those things. What activities do you want to do when you get there? How long are you going to stay when you get there? And that's the thing that a lot of us then don't get to. We have the travel and we have, I want to make money and I want to go to church more. But do you have a church? Do you know which kind of church you want to go to? Do you want to go to those traditional churches, Roman, Catholic, Presbyterian, whatever, or do you want to go to a more evangelistic, charismatic church? So it's those things that you then, when you have this pretty picture, now the action starts, because you'll always have this pretty picture. And then next year, you'll get to next year and be reflecting, and you would have done nothing because you didn't work towards the pretty picture and making it a reality.
Mlamuli is saying, laughing at the comment of, do you have a passport? It's such a valid question, though, because go to Home Affairs. Have you done the Home Affairs thing? You know, in actually, you know, to really get there. But I must say, one of the things I thought as you were speaking was the forgiveness part. And I was like, oh, Tiza, I've got so many names I need to put around the forgiveness bubble, because it's also something I need to work on this year. But I think you've said so many amazing things, Anele, and I don't want to lose any of them. And I want to come back to the pinned comment. One of the things for me that stands out is the importance of grouping. And you've you know, articulated this so beautifully, is that it's not a mishmash of goals, but when you begin to put structure to it and say, okay, for my financial well-being, these are the things that I actually think I want to do. For my spiritual well-being, for my physical health, for my relationships, right? For my family, these are the things. And I think when you begin to do that, it also helps you to start having a conversation with yourself about priorities and boundaries. How much am I doing for myself versus how much am I committing to everybody else? And also just being realistic. How am I going to fund some of the things that I put there, especially if there's a financial expectation around, you know, around that. And I think that's super, super important. I just want to pick up this pinned comment. And my husband is at the door.
Hi,
husband. Okay. Sorry, guys. And I'm missing now the comment, but I am Meraki saying being intentional is very important. It's as important as taking the steps as well. Absolutely. Chanda says a vision board is for the vision. It's a visual representation of your future life. And Chanda, I think that's so beautifully said. So here's the comment that was pinned, which is putting in a timeline is important to identify what would be the stumbling blocks as well. We often identify objectives, but don't identify the risk so we can plan for it. Gosh, I think that's such a powerful comment. So to what extent, Tamaris, thank you very much for that. To what extent, as you're planning, is it important to go, okay, what are the things that could trip me up in the process? And to what extent am I making room and accommodation should they happen? This is what I'm going to do. Is that important, Anele, that you're not just in the rose-tinted glasses of, you know, rose-tinted glasses of the perfection of, oh, it's going to go like this, it's going to be beautiful, but to say, okay, these are the things that could actually come up and derail me from
I think thank you for that comment. It's very important, you know, because with everything, like if you're starting a business or you're going to go to school and study or do your driver's license, or even the Home Affairs example is you're now going to do your passport. You have to go to Home Affairs. We know the lines at Home Affairs, you know, that's a kind of, not a stumbling block per se, but it could be something that could put you off. And so you need to be prepared for those things. And if there's financial aspects of it, the last time I checked, a passport was 400 Rand. You know, do you have that 400 Rand, or do you have to do maybe your passport in 2 months' time so that you can save a 200 here and save a 200 next time? So actually thinking about, this is the goal, but these are the risks. These are the things that could maybe detour me. What is it that I can do? Who can I speak to? You know, because another thing that I think we should always remember is, yes, it's your vision. Yes, it's your dream, but you also need people to help you achieve it. You know, for me, I wouldn't be able to achieve the things that I do. Like even with the vision board picnic, even when it was just my birthday, I could have been like, it's my birthday and invite you guys. But if you guys don't pitch, I don't have a picnic, you know? So it's that. It's who are the people that I need to speak to? Do I know those people, or do they know people that know people? You know, maybe someone wants to get in contact with you. And Anele, I saw that you were having a conversation with Ndlovu. I really like what she's doing. Can you introduce me to her? You know, things like that. So when you really just take the time to think about, how am I going to achieve this goal? What is it that I need? Who do I need? It helps you be more intentional, like someone said, and it helps you just be more aware of what is going to come.
Yeah. So I love that. And so the one aspect of the question from Tamaris was, you know, the question of planning for the things that could derail you, but also she was raising the question of timeline, right? How important is it to say, you know, by September, I want to have done this and that. And I am going to come to the question of what happens when, you know, when you don't hit your pictures. And, you know, how do we come back from that? But just a quick comment from V saying, how does one then stay consistent? Because sometimes life can take a different route than planned. So I think it's a beautiful comment just to hear your thoughts, Anele, on the importance of timelines, to say, okay, it has to be done by this.
I think timelines are important, because then you'll always just get stuck on, this is the vision, but then it's never ending. And not that your vision ends, but like I said, that your vision expands and evolves, but it has to grow in stages. So if you don't have a timeline for this part of the vision needs to be accomplished by this time, you'll always be stuck at the beginning, and you're not going to move and evolve with your dreams and with your visions. You know, like I said earlier, you've now gone to Zanzibar. I don't know if I'm the kind of person, okay, we've done this. Next year, which other part of the world are we going to go to? Because we've experienced Zanzibar. Let's dream bigger, you know, let's dream bigger and go somewhere else. So the timeline is then important to say. Let's say something like studying. The degree is 3 years. You're going to give yourself that 3 years. You know, yes, things may happen, might add a semester here or another year, but the goal is going to be achieved for that degree within 3 years. And then after that, are you going to do a postgrad? Are you going to continue with a master's? Or are you going to go and look for an internship? How long is the internship? Is it a year? Is it 2 years? And after that, then what do you do? You know, otherwise you're always going to be stuck in, I just want to do this degree. And then by the time you are finishing the degree, you're not sure what the next step is. So the timeline also helps you have the next step of, okay, I've accomplished it up until this point. What is the next point? Or maybe I need to redirect the vision or redirect the dream, because I've now accomplished this within the 3 years or the 1 year or the 2 years that you've given yourself.
Lovely. So I want to talk about redirection a little bit more. But Jeanette was just saying to all of us, for those who are planning international trips, a passport is now 600 rand. So for all of those, by the way, if we have time, I must tell you guys my story of Zanzibar. The worst holiday I've ever gone to, but all my fault. But I'll tell it in the last 5 minutes if we have time. I do want to talk about the impact of life, and how it can sometimes have the ability to completely, you know, change the thing that we set out to do, right? And, you know, we talk a lot about, you know, being agile and being able to change and being responsive and being open to new things. Do you think that, I just want to pin this other comment. Do you think that once you've set so now you have this visual reminder on the back of your door every single day. And let's assume that visual reminder, okay, I'm going to use a really bad example, but just bear with me. Let's say that visual reminder is a ring, because you're like, I'm in a stable relationship and, you know, I want to either put a ring on it, or I'm really hoping that this person puts a ring on it this year or by whatever time. And then suddenly you start picking up red flags. You're like, But really, so the question I'm trying to get to is, does it become harder to pivot and to change your mind and to decide that this is a goal I want to put down if you have a constant visual reminder that this is the thing that you said you were going to do? How do you reconcile that conversation with yourself? And have you ever had an experience of where you had to do that?
Not a bad example that you've said, but it's such an important part of just your life and your self-awareness, and that knowing that life, something will happen and you don't always plan for these things, and then you do have to be agile and pivot. And I have gone through something like that. I said, so I always used to consider myself, I'm going to be this top corporate executive and then 2020, I lost my job. So it's kind of, the vision board in January had this picture, and in June, that picture changed. And what happens now? And I know with myself, it took a while for me to get to a point of, okay, we need to breathe. We need to now redirect the vision. And like I said earlier, that everything that I've actually done in my corporate career, I'm able to do now in my own organization. But at that point, I didn't see it that way. I was just like, what am I going to do? I've always wanted to do this, and I always wanted to have that executive director behind my name or whatever it is, And now I do, but it wasn't in the context that I thought. But now I am very good at, okay, we need to take a time out, sit with the emotions of life has happened. What do I do next? Does the vision still stay exactly the same? Or do I think of there's other things that I can use that will still lead me to being this executive director, which has happened. I just didn't think it would happen in this way, but I have pivoted and kind of detoured back to, this was always the original plan of being at the top of an organization, But I think what I did is I sat too long in the moments of self-pity, disappointment, resentment, anger, and then it derailed the whole picture and the whole vision for months, if not even a year. And only after a lot of time was I able to pick myself up and say, no, man, just because this has not worked out in the way that you thought, it doesn't mean you can't still continue, And it just reminded me of, life will happen, and you need to just then find another way to get to, if it's still the vision and the goal that you want to achieve. Because sometimes you find that, oh, I actually thought I wanted to do things this way. And actually, maybe life happened also, and your kind of understanding of your goals changed, but you actually wanted to do things in a different way. So it's also being very mindful of that it's not always going to be a pretty picture. Like you said, Zanzibar, I've never heard of anyone saying they had a horrible, whether it's your fault or not, or someone else's fault, but you are now saying, you didn't have a great trip. But it's Zanzibar, come on, I'll be like, girl, what are you talking about?
No, it was all my fault, and I'm going to definitely tell you about it. It wasn't Zanzibar, it was all my fault. But I want just to pause on something that you said that I think that is so important. Chandra's just saying here that remember that your vision board also works a lot with your subconscious. And I agree with that, right? Because I think a vision board is really just the visual manifestation of the conversation you're having with yourself about where you're going and who you are becoming on your way there. And I really, and this is why I think it's just so important. But one of the things you spoke about that I think resonated with a lot of people was sitting in the missed opportunity, the plan that didn't go according to plan, the thing that suddenly doesn't look like it should be up on the vision board, the picture that maybe needs to be put down. And you talk about, sitting in that a little bit too long. And I think it's such an important conversation. And I'm not a therapist by any long shots, but I just think that it's just so important to hear, that absolutely raw and so relatable connection that you're making there, because I think a lot of us sometimes we don't know how long we should be sitting in how we're feeling. We're told that we need to feel, so we allow ourselves to go there, but nobody then comes knocking on the door and says, okay, feeling is enough now, time to get up and dust yourself off and keep it moving. So I just wanted to share something really funny that I learned or heard about, and I have no research to back this up, but it was, I think, a good 15 years ago, right? And this person was saying that there's been scientific research that shows that everybody is entitled to a pity party. And a pity party lasts for a total of 6 minutes. And everything after the 6th minute is self-inflicted. So I remember, I think I must have heard this maybe 20 years ago even. And you know, it stuck with me, because my first reaction to it was like, 6 minutes. When I think about my pity parties and how long they last. But it's always this funny thing that helps me to snap out of it sometimes. Because I go, yo, Nosy, that was a proper one, you know. And I'm a crier, by the way. So I release through tears. So I would, you know, totally cry about something and let it out and be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that this happened, or this didn't happen, or whatever the case may be. And it becomes the sore point that I keep going to, because you know why, guys, crying is nice. And you keep going back because, you know, you just, you know, Ella's saying months, Baba.
I
no,
feel
Ella,
there.
6 minutes. 6
now
minutes in time.
6 minutes, yo.
So, you know, it helps me just to go, okay, the pity party is done. I still feel crap about it, but now I'm going to start thinking about what am I going to do about this? And it's such a stupid thing. And that's what I'm saying, it doesn't have any scientific research, but because it's so funny, I always go, all right, let's keep it moving, you know? Anyway, Jeanette is saying, there's a pinned comment from Jeanette saying, how do you move from having a full picture, but not necessarily the how, Jeanette, I think it was the how of moving forward, right? And I think we alluded to that question before. I mean, earlier, and you were talking about, you know, being deliberate about having the steps and the questions about, you know, how am I going to get there? What needs to be true? I did want to just maybe pause a little bit on something you touched on, Anele, and maybe go a little bit deeper on it. Because when we think about resources, we often think about money. Like, how much money do I need to get this done? And sometimes it's not about money. Sometimes it's like, how much relational capital am I going to need? So who do I need to be around in this year to build my relational capital, to build the network, to by the way, I hate that thing, Etty.
Your network
what do
is
people
your
say?
network.
Your network is your network. Anyway, for another day, we'll talk about it another day. But I do understand the importance of relational capital, right? And then there's financial capital. Then there's spiritual capital, right? And how sometimes you need to tap into your spiritual capital and make withdrawals when you're in that 6 minutes and beyond. So how do you think about building your spiritual capital? What are you banking every month into your spiritual bank account so that your spiritual capital grows as well? And then there's also just capital with family. And, you know, one of the things that I'm learning is, especially as I get older now, is the importance of going to funerals and attending people's funerals because their uncle died, or, you know, and typically those are the things that we left to our parents, because it was like the elderly people who do that. And now we're slowly sort of realizing that actually building that community capital is about showing up for people, and being intentional about showing up not only when it's convenient for you, but when people just need people around them. So I just wanted to pause on that a little bit and maybe just hear some of your comments around the importance of having a very sober understanding of what capitals do you need to be thinking about when you are dialing down and thinking about what needs to be true for me to be able to actually achieve this and that.
What you've said is so, so true and important. And I think what gets a lot of people to not move forward in achieving their goals and their dreams is because they only think money. You know, I need to get a loan. I need to go to the bank. I need to get a grant. I need to. And maybe that's not actually, not that it's not what they need, but maybe that's not the primary form of capital that they need. Maybe you need a mentor. Maybe you need to watch Mentorship Mondays, you know. Maybe you need a coach. Maybe you need a therapist. Maybe you need to find a church or some religious grouping that you can go to get to be more self-aware and hear other people's ideas and hear how other people have done things. And that opens up, am I doing things the right way? What maybe am I limiting myself to? And with the spiritual elements of things, you know, I mentioned that this year for me, the intention is making sure that I grow my spiritual values and my spiritual principles more, because I found that even when I'm in my 12 months pity party or my 2 weeks pity party, the faith that I have is what gets me through it. You know, the love that I have is what gets me through it. The peace that I have is what gets me through it. The forgiveness, hard as it is, especially of myself, is what gets me through it. So I want to kind of, what is the word? Enhance those, so that when life does happen and when things don't go the way that I've planned, I don't sit, now I know, for longer than 6 minutes in the pity party, because I'm just like, okay, we wanted peace. We have the peace. We have cried. We have screamed. We have whatever. Let us now move, you know. And for my spiritual wellness and spiritual part of my vision board and my goals is also going to therapy. I go to therapy once a week, you know, and that helps me because I also get to release if I have any frustrations. But what I found in the past couple of months of going to therapy, I think October, November, December, is even my therapist was saying, she's like, I love how you're more aware of your environments, of your surroundings, and the way you are responding to things has really changed from the time that we started seeing each other. And that's also important because people think that you're going to go to therapy because now you're depressed. Now I mean, my parents asked me that. My dad's like, so when do you stop seeing this lady? I'm like, guy, do you not see how she's helping me? She's taken me years from a place of anxiety and depression, but the way I am now and the way my relationships, even with you guys, is better, and the other family members and my friends, it's because of the support that I have from my therapist. It's the support that I have from my coaches. You know, it's the support that I have. So in Maritzburg, because I don't work like a 9 to 5, I have to be in an office. With my mom and the church ladies, you know, for those 2-3 hours every Thursday, if I'm in Maritzburg, I pick up the ladies, I get into the car and we go pick up ladies and we go to whoever's house it is, or we go to church and we praise and we worship and we share the word together. And for me, that uplifts me spiritually. And when I'm in Joburg, like now, those who have my number will send me messages. Oh, Ndlovu, siyakumbula. And when I get to church, they are so excited. And I also miss them because I know that they pray for me, they pray with me, and they support me in that way. And that's my spiritual capital, you know. With my physical health, and my physical capital is who is my GP, who is my gynae, who is my optometrist, what is my health plan, am I exercising, am I walking? I'm very bad at drinking water, so I try at least to drink 500 milliliters or whatever you call it a day. I'm terrible with water. But then I try and I'm like, okay, it's good for my skin and whatever, and I think about those things. So it's really just knowing that there is more to your life than the material things. There's more that will help you achieve your goals and visions than money. The money, yes, it will come, and there are people who will come in with the money, but do you know those people? You know, are you following? Because people are, you know, this thing of social media is so toxic. Oh my gosh, Twitter is so, and I'm like, I don't have that experience. Maybe it's the people that I'm following, maybe it's the people who are following me, but I don't find my social media, like my Instagram, the people I follow, you guys, the people I interact with, I'm like, I gain so much from my social media. You know, those are also my mentors without them knowing. But reading someone's post, seeing someone's picture or video, their story, it motivates me. You know, so what else are you putting your time and your investment in? If you're going to be following people who are going to make you think that social media is toxic, then maybe you should also rethink that. You know.
Awesome. So as we begin to draw to a close, I want to raise something that you've said, which I think is also so important. And that is sometimes the things on the vision board are not the things that other people will see. And I think, you know, sometimes we, you know, we put things on the vision board that are visible. Visible to other people. And I think, for example, if I think about even just your community capital, that's what we just spoke about, or spiritual capital.
Yeah.
Nobody sees that because you're not, I'm hopefully, you know, you're not going to be the person, you know, who's always flossing that you showed up for someone. You just know that I did that. And that is a step in the right direction. So before I get to my Zanzibar story, I just want to say that it's so important that as we set our goals, and this is something that I think about for myself, is that I'm setting goals that are growing me and stretching me, and that they are not goals that are measured by what is visible to other people. They're not things that I can always point to and say, there's the car, or there's the additional property. Sometimes it's learning forgiveness. You know, that's one of the themes for me that I'm working through right now. You know, how do you really let go? Because I'm one of those, okay, I forgive you, God, again, I'm not going to forget, you know, kind of people. And I need to let that go because I think it holds me back from really just accepting people and their shortcomings. Because that's what it is to forgive. It's to say you made a mistake and I'm going to forgive you for that, and we're going to move on, and I'm going to treat you in the same way that I treated you before. So let's be mindful that as we go now on the back of what Anele has shared with us, and we go think about it, and we begin to write down first, because that's what she said. She said, step number one, before you get to the pictures, write it down. When you're writing it down, who's this for? Is it for you? Is it for others? And this is why I think earlier this week, one of the posts that I shared is the importance of the conversation with self. This is why January for me is such a special month. It's an opportunity for us to pause and think about, what am I talking to myself about before I get roped into other people's dreams, roped into other people's plans and other people's to-dos. What are my dreams? What are my plans? And what are the things that I want to do? And if other people can't see whether I'm making progress or not, it doesn't matter. I know if I'm making progress. Okay. This story is going to take 5 minutes, but we've got 10 minutes, but I'm going to tell you 5 minutes. Okay. So, this was, before we got married. So, boyfriend and I, so Rory and I, and we decided that, in fact, the reason why we decided we were going to Zanzibar is that Nozi saw a special online of FastJet, the airline, was launching a route between Johannesburg and Zanzibar, right? And it was 1,500 Rand per person return. So I was like, there's no way that I'm not going to take this special. So I called boyfriend there and I'm like, hey, babe, 1,500 return Asambe. And he was like, okay, cool, I'm on board. So we start, the flights are fine, but now we're looking at accommodation, and accommodation is not cheap in Zanzibar, like especially the really, really nice places. They are proper 5-star hotels, and it's like, oh, okay, maybe, you know, this is a bit problematic. And the reason why it was problematic was that because it was a new route, it wasn't often. So you literally, the flight only comes and goes every 10 days. So if you went, you had to stay for a minimum of 10 days before you flew back to Joburg. So we needed to find a place that we could afford for 10 days. Guys, 10 days is a lot of time in a hotel. Anyway, I then reach out to a friend of mine who I know is always going on holidays and is always, you know, doing these amazing things. And she's like, no, I actually afford these holidays because my dad is part of some membership club, Tony. We can give you guys the details and you can use my father's membership for you to get a place. So we do that and we find this place that we can now afford for 10 days and it's absolutely beautiful in the pictures. And we get onto the flight and off we go to Zanzibar. And we land in Zanzibar, we take the taxi, and then when we arrive at the hotel, we realize it's nothing like the pictures. So there's no white sand, there's no blue beach. The sand looks like it was like, you can't tell the difference between the sand and the water because it all just looks like an oil spill. It was like all black and sticky and mucky, and it was far. Like you couldn't even like go close and pretend to be near the water. The place itself was more like 2-star-ish because they had advertised it as 4-star, but it looked very 2-star-ish. Anyway, I'm like, okay, fine. It doesn't matter. We're going to, we're here. There's nothing we can do. We're stuck. So first night we sleep, guys, midnight. I just hear gunshots, AK-47s or whatever machine guns. And we're like, so I start crying because I'm like I said, I'm a crier. Because I'm like, okay, cool. I'm dying today. My family is going to have to come and expatriate my body from this place. And in between that, you hear, boom, it's like bomb. And the whole thing goes off like this. So I say to this guy here, I'm like, go and look, like what's happening? And he's just like, have you lost your mind? You want me to die? And we're literally under the bed now. Like we're literally under the bed. And I'm like crying and screaming. I'm like, go and look. Like, I don't know. Because in my head, I'm thinking, this is the part where we're supposed to be crawling on our stomachs to reception to find safety. Like, I can't even, like, where were those evacuation? Where's the, you know, when the, in case of emergency signs? Guys, epic disaster. My husband, being the very rational person that he is, pulls out his phone. Firstly, he says he's not going outside. And 2, pulls out his phone and starts Googling because he's like, okay, I need to know what's going on. And as he Googles, it turns out it's Independence Day. And that this is what they do on Independence Day. They do gunshots and they do bombs at a particular stadium and they do grenades or whatever it is that they're doing for an hour. So nobody bothered when we were checking in to tell us that, hey, FYI, tomorrow you're not dying. We're just doing this and this is what's going to happen. So by the end of it, my nerves were shot. I just was not okay. And it was day 1 and we still had 9 days to go. So I had to get over myself. And then eventually we like, okay, we're fine, we're alive. And so we went to Stone Town. And so, but the place was so terrible that, you know when the eggs are red, like the egg yolk is red, and you can't even eat the breakfast because the egg yolk is red, because you're like, why is egg yolk red? So we then decide, you guys are laughing at me. So we then decide, Guti, because we don't have money, we're going to take one of the local taxi thingies, and we're going to go to the north where the expensive places are, and we're just going to go see, like how the other holidays, you know, how the Joneses are living. Exactly, right? Just go to see. I learned the hard way about cheap trips. I've never don't do cheap trips ever since. Anyway, we take this thing, and because we are thinking it's an in and out, we leave we leave our cards and we just take the cash that we had. So when we get there, guys, it's blue water, it's white beaches, it's people in bikinis, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is the thing that we wanted, but now we can't afford. So we decide to blow a first bit of money on like a full breakfast, because we hadn't had like a proper breakfast in a long time. It's like $40 per person. That's a crap load of money. But it was like, it was at the Marriott, and it was like the whole breakfast thing. Then my story is almost coming to an end. Then we realized we need to make a decision. With the money we've got left, we had lunch, we had cocktails, so we had a good time. But we're like, okay, the money that we've got left is enough to get us back, because we knew how much the taxi thing was. And then my husband, being the adventurous person that he is, then decides, no, let's not go back. Let's blow the cash that we have now, and let's just have a really good time. And let's go and sleep at the backpackers that we saw when we arrived. And I was like, yeah, I've never done a backpackers before. Let's do this. Long story short, we get into the backpackers. We have an amazing time. We're at this lovely hotel. The water's licking at our feet. We're drinking cocktails, kumnandi. And then now it's time to go check in at the backpackers. And we get there. And we had a little backpack we're carrying, and we had 2 towels in the backpack because we thought beach and whatever. Can I tell you, we put the mattresses were so dirty that we each took a towel and then laid on the towel like a mummy, because there was like, it was like,
you can't even turn
it was so dirty. And then despite all of that, you hear, as you're sleeping, so the mites were so big, you could hear them, and then you started the scratching. So long story short, we left and we slept on the beach because it was just not doable. And the beach had crabs, and it was just a disaster. So let me just say, and then we left the next day and we went back to our cheap place, and we spent the rest of the 8 days like just going to Stone Town and back, and spending time in Stone Town. So I feel like I need to redo Zanzibar. Like I just, the way it happened is not the way. Utsapatin told me, I'm so serious. This was so dramatic. So I really need to redo Zanzibar. We need to try again. It's my husband's favorite story. He will tell it at every turn, because every time we go on holiday now, I'm banned from booking the accommodation. I can book the flights, I can book I can secure the dates, but all the accommodation and all the experiences are him. No, because and Vuyo, when you go, please make sure just 5-star or nothing, because the thing that you see that other people are doing, that's 5-star. Everything else, maybe even 4-star, maybe, but don't do what we did. But that's the story. So guys, welcome to 2023. I hope it was an amazing kickoff to your year. I wish you only the very best for the year that's to come. Anele, thank you. We appreciate you. We really, I'm seeing all these comments. We really appreciate you. We appreciate your time, sharing your wisdom. If anybody has not reached out to Anele and you want to join the picnic, please follow her. All the details are on her page. Go check out the picnic. Have the actual experience, because I think it's totally worth it, and it's a tool that you use over and over again in different ways. For me, we're gonna keep going for as long as I can. I see Dr. Vuyo is coming back saying, life happens. Pity party is 6 minutes. Remember to redirect. There's an executive director or a UN ambassadorship. Nozi is in the corner. I'm not sure what that means, but I'll take it. Anele is a person of impact.
The rest is history.
And the rest is history. Thank you for that beautiful summation. I think that was beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys. Poki, you made it. I spent a whole weekend with this lady, and she didn't know about Mentorship
Now people
Mondays.
know.
So, Poki,
guys,
I'm happy to see you
don't
here.
miss out on Mentorship Mondays. Bye. Thank
Cheers,
you.
guys. Love you so much. Bye.